Hello everyone and welcome to the Apollo Players. We present A Marriage Has Been Arranged, another in our series of short one-act plays. Written in 1904 by British author and dramatist Alfred Sutro, the play presents a single scene in which Mr. Crockstead, who is a self-made millionaire, proposes marriage to the noble but penniless young lady Aline, who refuses to marry him but eventually changes her mind after Crockstead makes her an unusual offer.
You seem perfectly calm, Lady Aline.
Conservatories are not unusual appendages to a ballroom, Mr. Crockstead, nor is this conservatory unlike other conservatories.
I wonder why women are so evasive.
With your permission, we will not discuss the sex. You and I are too old to be cynical and too young to be appreciative. And besides, I make it a rule whenever I sit out a dance that my partner shall avoid the subjects of women and golf.
You limit the area of conversation. But then, in this instance, I take it we're not here to talk.
I beg your pardon.
Lady Aline, they are dancing a cottage. We have at least half an hour before us. The Duchess, your aunt, has considerately stationed an aged companion at the corridor with instructions to ward off intruders.
Mr. Crockstead.
Well, did you not know? Of course you did. Do you not know why I brought you here? Of course you do. Lady Aline, the Duchess, your aunt, and the Marchioness, your mother, observe how fondly the titles trip off my tongue. They smiled upon us as we left the ballroom. There will be a post in the newspaper tomorrow morning. A marriage has been arranged.
Mr. Crockstead, this is highly irregular.
Because I have not yet proposed to you. I do intend to, Lady Aline, but only as I know you will accept.
Let us go back to the ball.
No, Lady Aline, please. No, we'll not help us. Sit down. It is only that I've never proposed that I am a trifle nervous. I know that we are really supers without much of a speaking part. My spirit is loath. It moves me to gag in the absence of a stage manager, who is, let us say, the Duchess.
I have heard of the new humour, Mr. Crockstead, though I confess I have never understood it. This may be an exquisite example.
I merely wish to do the right thing, though perhaps not the conventional one. Before I offer you my hand and my fortune, which amounts to little over 3 million.
Oh, how people exaggerate. Between 6 and 7, I heard.
Only 3. But we will be patient. Before I throw myself at your feet, metaphorically speaking, I'm anxious for you to learn a little more about the man whom you're about to marry.
Oh, that really is most considerate.
Well, I have the advantage of you, inasmuch as you have many dear friends who have told me all about you.
Indeed.
For instance, I am aware that this is your 9th season.
You are remarkably well informed.
I have learned as much tonight. 3 times, I was told by charming young women who vowed that they were your friends and loved you. Now, I have no dear friends, so it is highly unlikely that you will have learned anything equally definite concerning myself. I propose to enlighten you.
Oh, the story of your life. How thrilling.
I trust you may find it so. Lady Aline, I am a self-made man, as the foolish phrase has it, whose early years were spent in savage and desolate places where the devil had much to say. A man in whom whatever kindness there was very soon kicked out of him. A man who was lonely for 32 years, poor, rich and lonely for 10. I made my millions honestly enough, but poverty and wretchedness left a mark on me. There are very few men who have a good word to say about Harrison Crockstead. I have no polish, no culture, no taste. Art wearies me and literature sends me to sleep.
When we come to the chapter of your deficiencies, Mr. Crockstead, please remember that they are sufficiently evident for me to have already observed them.
Very true. I shall pass then on to more intimate matters. In a little township in Australia, a horrible place where there was gold, I met a woman whom I loved very, very dearly. She is what is technically known as a bad woman. She ran away with another man. I tracked them down to Texas, and there in a mining camp, I shot the man. I wanted to take her back, but she refused. That is my solitary love affair. I shall never love another woman as I loved her. I think that's all I have to tell you. Now, Lady Aline, will you marry me?
Not if you were the last man in this world, Mr. Crockstead.
That is at least emphatic.
You see, I will give you confidence for confidence. This is, as you suggest, my 9th season. Living in an absurd milieu where marriage with a wealthy man is considered the one aim in life, I have, over the past few weeks, done all that lay in my power to wring a proposal from you.
I appreciate your sincerity.
Perhaps the fact that other women were doing the same lent a little zest to the pursuit, for I must confess that your personality did not especially appeal to me.
Thank you very much.
Not at all. Indeed, this place being the Palace of Truth, it was only really by thinking very hard of your 3 millions that I have been able to conceal the weariness I have felt in your society. And now, will you marry me, Mr. Crockstead?
I rather fancy that's why we're here, isn't it?
I have, of course, been debarred from the disreputable amours on which you linger so fondly. But I loved a soldier cousin of mine once, and would have married him had mother not packed me off in time. He went to India, and I stayed here. He is the only man I have ever loved or ever shall love. Further, let me tell you, I am 28 years old. I have always been poor. I hate poverty, and it has soured me no less than you. Dress is the thing in life I care for most. Vulgarity, my chief abomination. And to be frank, I consider you the most vulgar person I have ever met. Will you still marry me, Mr. Crockstead?
Why not?
Oh, this is an outrage. Am I a horse, do you suppose, or a ballet dancer? Do you imagine I will sell myself to you for your 3 millions?
Logic, Lady Aline, is evidently not one of your special possessions. Were it not for my eccentric preliminaries, you would have accepted me, wouldn't you?
Well,
Had I approached you timidly and said, Lady Aline, I love you. I am a simple, unsophisticated person. Will you marry me? You would have said, yes, Harrison, I will.
It is a mercy to have escaped marrying a man with a Christian name such as Harrison.
It's been in my family for generations. Though it is strange. Everyone calls me Harrison, and no one adopts the diminutive.
That does not surprise me. We have no pet name for the east wind.
Possession of millions, Lady Aline, leaves one in eternal quarantine. It is a kind of yellow fever, with the difference that people are perpetually anxious to catch your complaint. But I digress. To the question of our marriage.
I beg your pardon.
Well, I presume it has been arranged.
Mr. Crockstead, let me remind you that frankness has its limits. Exceeding these, it is apt to degenerate into impertinence. Be good enough to conduct me back to the ballroom.
You have 5 sisters, Lady Aline. All younger than you, all unmarried, and all marriageable. Your father...
Not a word of my father.
Your father is a gentleman. It's a rare breed, but a fine one if you can get it. He's exceedingly poor. People marry for money these days, and your mother would be dreadfully upset if our marriage would fall through.
Is it to oblige my mother, then, that you desire to marry me?
Well, no. I have to marry someone in self-defense. And you at least will do as well as anyone else. That strike you as funny?
If you had the least grain of chivalrous feeling, you would realise that any man who could speak to a woman as you have just spoken to me.
Yes.
Oh, I leave you to finish the sentence.
Thank you. I shall. I shall say that any woman who tries to deliberately wring a proposal of marriage out of a man she does not love deserves to be spoken to the way that I've just spoken to you, Lady Aline.
Love? What has love to do with marriage?
Well, that remark rings hollow. You were good enough to tell me of your cousin whom you love.
Well?
And would have eloped with had your mother not prevented you.
Well, I most certainly should.
Well, at one period of your life then you felt differently. You were fond of him?
I have told you.
If I were he, money or no money, mother or no mother, I would have carried you away. I fancy it would be rather pleasant to be loved by you, Lady Aline.
Oh, you do me too much honour.
Next to being king, it is good to be the maker of kings. Where is this cousin of yours now?
In America. But might I suggest that we have exhausted the subject?
Do you remember your Arabian Nights, Lady Aline?
Oh, vaguely.
Well, you haven't at least not forgotten the sublime Caliph Harun al-Rashid.
No. But why?
We millionaires are the caliphs of today. And we command more faithful than ever bowed to them. And like that scoundrel Harun, we permit ourselves from time to time respectable impulses. What is your cousin's address?
Again, I ask why.
Well, I mean to put him in a position to marry you.
What?
Well, don't be alarmed. I shall manage it pleasantly. I shall give him tips, shares, speculate for him, make him a director of one of my companies. He'll be on an income of 4,000 a year. You can live on that.
You cannot be serious.
I am. And though men may not like me, they always trust my word. And you may.
And why will you do this thing?
Call it caprice. Call it a mere vulgar desire to dazzle you with my magnificence. Call it a less vulgar desire to know that I've made you happy with the man that you love.
That is generous.
I recall a poem that I learnt in school. It tells of how Frederick the Great coveted a mill that adjoined his estate, but the miller refused to sell. Now, Frederick could have turned him out. There was no public opinion in those days. But he respected the miller's firmness and left him in solid possession. At the same time, mark you, he annexed, that is to say, he stole the province of Silesia.
Ah.
Cessons le jeu du prince. Il respectait une manière, il volait une province.
You speak French?
I'm very fond of it. It is the true and native language of insincerity.
And yet you seem sincere.
I'm affording myself that luxury tonight. I am uncorking, shall we say, the bottle of 47 port that's in my cellar.
You are not quite fair to yourself, perhaps.
Now, do not let this action of mine cause you too suddenly to alter your opinion of me. Your verdict that you pronounced earlier of me, on the whole, was just.
What verdict?
That I was the most unpleasant man you'd ever met.
That was an
The
exaggeration.
most repulsive.
I did not say
And
that.
he prided himself on his repulsiveness. Very true. But consider this. My wealth dates back 10 years. Now, up till then, I'd known only hunger and every kind of sorrow and despair. My arms reached out longingly to the world, and not a heart opened to me. Just when men's cruelty was a bitter taste in my mouth, capricious fortune snatched me up from abject poverty and gave me delirious wealth. I was ploughing a barren field and flung up a nugget. But since then, gold has dogged my footsteps. I've enriched the friends that I have. They turned howlingly from me because I did not give them more. I showered money on whoever sought it of me. They cursed me because it was mine to give. In my poverty, I had a common bond of sorrow with my fellows, but in my wealth I stand alone, a modern Ishmael, with every man's hand against me.
Why do you tell me all this?
Because I am no longer asking you to marry me. Because you are the first person in years who has been truthful and frank with me. And because, in the happiness that I trust will be yours, you will think kindly of me. Ah. Shall we return to the ballroom? The music has stopped playing. They must be going to supper.
And what am I to tell the Duchess, my aunt, and the Marchioness, my mother?
You shall acquaint those noble ladies with the fact of you having refused me.
Oh, I shall be a 9 days wonder. And tell me, how do you intend to carry out your little scheme?
I shall take the Saturday boat. You give a line to your cousin. I'd better state the case plainly to him.
That requires great consideration.
But you must do something for me in return. Find me a wife.
I?
Yes, you. I beg it on my knees. I give you carte blanche. I undertake to propose, with my eyes closed, to the woman whom you shall select.
And will you treat her to the little preliminaries with which you favoured me?
No. I only told you that because I liked you.
And you don't intend to like the other one?
I shall marry her. I trust you to find a loyal and intelligent woman.
In society?
For preference. She shall be better versed at spending money than, say, a governess or a country parson's daughter.
But why this veracity for marriage?
Oh, Lady Aline, I am hunted, persecuted, pestered, worried. I've settled 2 breach of promise actions already, though heaven knows all I did was remark that it was a fine day or inquire about the lady's health. Lady Aline, if you do not help me, some energetic woman will capture me, I know it, and bully me for the rest of my days. I raise a despairing cry to you. Find me a wife.
Do you require the lady to have any special qualifications?
No, the homegrown article will do. But one thing, I should like for her to be merciful.
I don't understand.
I have a vague desire to do things with my money, and my wife might like to help me. I should like for her to have pity.
Pity?
In the midst of her wealth, I should wish for her to feel sorry for the poor.
Ah, yes. And as for the rest?
The rest I leave entirely up to you, with absolute confidence. Will you help me?
I will try. My choice is to be final.
Absolutely.
I have an intimate friend. I wonder whether she would do.
Ah. Tell me more.
She and I made our debut the same season. Like myself, she has hitherto been her mother's despair.
Ah, because she has not yet
Married, yes. Oh, if men knew how hard the lot is of the portionless girl who has to sit and smile and wait with a devastated heart, they would not think so unkindly of her, perhaps. But I digress, too.
Tell me more about your friend.
She is outwardly hard, a trifle bitter, but I fancy sunshine would thaw her. There has not been much happiness in her life.
Would she marry a man she did not love?
If she did, you would not respect her?
I did not say that. She's to be your choice, and therefore deserving of confidence. Is she handsome?
Well, no.
No. That's a pity. But you can't have everything, can you?
No. There is one episode in her life I feel she should like you to know.
If you are not betraying her confidence.
No. She loved a man years ago, very dearly. They were too poor to marry, but vowed to wait. Within 6 months, she learned he was engaged to a fat and wealthy widow.
The old story. Yes.
She was touring through India and had been made love to by every unmarried officer in the regiment. She chose him.
India, I'd say.
Yes.
I fancy I'm going to rather like your friend.
I shall be sure to tell her everything you said to me at the beginning.
It is very possible that my remarks from before may not apply.
I believe myself, from what I know of you both, that if she were to marry you, it would not be entirely for your money.
Ah, listen. They're playing God Save the King. Will you marry me, Aline?
Yes, Harry.